It's something that many of us feel we need to get the day started off right. Caffeine. Doctors say the stimulant usually doesn't lead to health problems, but it's important to be mindful of its side effects. Here to tell us more about what to look out for is Shantia Pello, a registered dietitian with Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me today.
So first off, can you tell us how much caffeine in popular drinks like coffee and tea, and how do those amounts of those drinks line up with caffeine guidelines from the Food and Drug Administration?
Yeah, so the USDA, the FDA, both of those organizations are going to recommend that 400 milligrams is typically what's deemed safe for most adults. So, for example, in things like a regular cup of coffee, an 8-ounce cup of coffee, that's going to be about 100 milligrams, whereas tea is about 50 milligrams. Things like a 12-ounce of cola is going to amount up to about 50 milligrams as well. And then things like herbal tea actually doesn't have caffeine, so those can be really great swaps if someone's looking to decrease their intake.
Basically, what I'm hearing from you is that a lot of us are drinking more caffeine than is recommended. So some people might not realize that caffeine in powder form can lead to health dangers. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so caffeine in powder forms can be used in people who are working out or really trying to amp up their caffeine intake and things that aren't going to be found in things like energy drinks. And it's really found that in younger individuals, this extreme caffeine intake is more dangerous and has been leading to more emergency room intakes and things like that. So really important to be mindful of that. And something else to consider is that there's actually no requirement to declare the amount of caffeine in things that are recognized as beverages. So, for example, in energy drinks or things that are marketed as dietary supplements.
Wow. Okay, so are those ER visits for heart issues?
Yeah, so generally those are going to be linked to heart issues. And researchers have also seen that there have been more heart arrhythmias linked to increased energy drink intake. But again, that's something that's still establishing.
Okay. Well, research suggests that caffeine can impact people of different ages in different ways. Tell us a little bit about that. I know after I had children, I could not tolerate caffeine as much as I could beforehand.
Yeah, so something really interesting about caffeine is that the half-life is 4 to 6 hours. So that means after you consume caffeine, after you consume that caffeine, half of that caffeine is still going to be present in your system after that time. And some people are more sensitive to caffeine than others. And it's actually been found that older individuals, particularly those who are 65 and up, process caffeine at a slower rate, so they can feel those side effects associated with caffeine for much longer than others.
Wow. So what are some tips for people who are looking to cut down on caffeine?
Yeah, so I always recommend mixing in some decaffeinated beverages. So for example, if you're a tea drinker, switching to things like herbal teas can be a really good idea. And it's also important just to be mindful of how that caffeine racks up throughout the day and take a look at things like your over-the-counter medication. So for example, over-the-counter painkillers can have some caffeine in them as well. So being mindful of that. And then of course, as it's daylight savings, people are not in their regular rhythm of things. So looking at consuming caffeine earlier on in the day to prevent things like sleep issues.
Yeah. Shantia Pello from Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan. Thank you for joining us with this good information.
Thanks so much.